And we're live again.
We are. Oh, stop sharing this. Dude, I have an opening sound for you that I'm guessing you've probably already heard. Don't react if you see the photo. Hopefully you've been under enough of a rock or it's outside of your echo chamber. Let me ask you a question to start with. It's related to the opening sound. So the Missouri Secretary of State, or a lady running for it, is no, she's the Missouri Secretary candidate, lady running for it.
Okay.
She made a very provocative campaign ad. And I'll play it for you in a second. But I have a theory about these hot Republicans.
Okay.
So we got the dog killer, Kristi Noem.
Yeah.
We got Grandma Bobart.
Right.
You know what? To some people, we got Marjorie.
Yeah.
Who else we got? A.O. Feets? No, that's not.
That's not. Yeah.
You heard that. Yeah, we got a few others. Oh, we got that. Oh, I forget her name, but there's another lady with black hair that she was like a VP potential. It wasn't Noam. It's okay. And now we have this lady coming out of Missouri. You know what? Her name slipped my mind. Who's quite fetching, let's say. So here's my theory that I want to ask you about. They don't come out of nowhere, or like any candidate they do. And then they gain and grow in popularity, but they're also pretty, exceptionally so for politics, which is notoriously an ugly sport, right?
Sure. Yes.
And I can't help but think that this is happening more on the right than on the left, with the exception of A.O. Feets. I'll just say it. Are these MAGA guys just a bunch of simps and they're treating these ladies like political OnlyFans?
I mean, potentially. I've heard people speculate that some of it has to do with Trump style and the type of people he likes to have in his orbit.
Oh, you mean like all his hot lawyers?
Yeah,
or press secretaries that just seem to spend way too much time with him. It's kind of odd that his hot lawyer is up in New York celebrating with him.
Sure. There's that. I've seen people speculate that that's part of it. That there's a certain aesthetic that he prefers, and that's the people that tend to rise to the top.
She's not blonde, Alan.
That's true. It's true.
Yeah. He tends to like
very Norwegian.
She doesn't look like his daughter at all.
Not at all. Not at all.
Well, it's not muted. Great job. God damn it, Dustin. That was a.
In America, you can be anything you want. Don't be gay.
It's not even audio good. Fucking. That's how I planned on opening the show. Yeah.
I haven't seen that before.
You haven't seen this before?
No, that's hilarious.
Her audio is so fucking bad.
It's really bad.
I thought it would come out on here. I'm going to start the show with this anyways, because that's the way we planned it. We'll play it one more time. In America, you can be anything you want. Just don't be weak and gay.
In America, you can be anything you want. Don't be weak and gay.
Don't let me in this damn house.
Get your hand off my penis!
1, 2, 3. She said, just stay hard. Right, you ready?
Stay hard.
Are you waiting to receive my limp penis?
Are you recording?
I saved it, Alan. You made it funny. Yes. All right. Well, you want to start a show?
Let's start a show.
That podcast is filling your head with garbage.
No offense taken there.
Well, it sounds like none taken.
Boom!
To the Friday Headlines Roundup edition of No Ticket, where every week my good friend Alan wrangles up the headlines from all over the internet, and we talk them at you. Because I listen to 13 hours of podcast a day. And Alan watches 3 hours of cable news, more so now that he's unemployed. And now, oh wait, so you don't have to. And now, get ready to take the sledgehammer to the culture war echo chambers.
So, another Friday is upon us. What'll you be doing, Smithers? Something gay, no doubt. What? You know, lighthearted, fancy-free. Mothers, lock up your daughters. Smithers is on the town.
Exactly, sir.
Exactly, sir. I'm gonna steal a line from Alan. Weekend is here. Grab a can of beer. I got a second one loaded up right behind that in case we run out of
Hell
ones.
yeah.
Got the biggest bottle of Jim Beam you ever seen. We are here to do a show. And if you want to do a show with us, you can join us here on the Patreon. Join the Patreon. $3 a month, $7 a month. No, $9.
$3, $9, $18.
$3, $9, or $18 a month. Pick your poison. You get live access to all of our videos, the entire library, including pre-shows that do not come out onto the audio file. We also put an extended audio file version of the show up there. If you're one of those people that just likes to listen, that's how I am. I don't like to watch. Yeah, go over to nonetaken.com to join the party in that way, and Alan will fill you in on other options you can do.
Nonetakenpod.com. All of our links are there, including the Patreon. You can also hit our merch store there. You can get some cool Culture War veteran shirts. Although if you sign up at the premium tier on our Patreon, Dustin will send you one of those. You just have to DM him.
Gotta
let
DM
him know. So yeah, all the stuff's there. Nonetakenpod.com. Get the Patreon. All of our RSS feeds are there. And check it out. Also, don't forget, support the people that support us. Slickitsdigital.com for all your SEO and marketing needs.
Oh, Slicky D.
Slickitsdigital.com. What is up, everybody? Happy Friday. Welcome to the show. The weekend is here. Dustin already said it, but let's have
that one.
Fucking beer.
Second beer.
Hell yeah. Sierra Nevada, it looks like.
Yeah, got green cans.
You know,
Green cans on the ceiling. No, that's green.
Good old faithful. Good
Yep.
old faithful. Can't go wrong with a Sierra Nevada Pale Ale. Yeah, so we got some headlines to talk at you. Shall we begin?
Mm-hmm.
President Biden and former President Trump agreed more specifically to a June 27th CNN debate and a September 10th ABC debate. Independent candidate RFK Jr. accused the major parties of trying to exclude him, but said he will meet CNN.
They're not trying to exclude you.
They are.
Yeah, it's welcome to being third. Like, this would bug me more if I wasn't a libertarian in the past and looked at them meeting the threshold to be on the ballot in all 50 states. This guy's
which he has not.
Which he is not. Yeah, exactly. Right. So it's like, no, like I'm not listening to you. Sorry.
They even caught people doing shady stuff trying to get him on the ballot in New York, which we talked about on the show.
And the one that wasn't shady is like, okay, well, the threshold seems to be awfully low in Michigan. Like, right. So yeah, and right. You know, I don't know. I still would vote for the brain worm over both.
I was a little bit surprised that both of the candidates agreed to this. There'd been a lot of back and forth about whether or not there would be debates. Nobody wanted to go through the normal course of the 3 debates handled by the presidential debate, whatever.
Well, they dissolved that.
It dissolved out.
Years,
right.
Yeah.
Well, I think the RNC was the first to be like, no, we don't want to participate in that, and then the other side said the same. So I was a little bit surprised. I mean, it certainly is a risk sticking Biden out there at 80, whatever years old he is.
Trump in a room without a crowd.
That's going to be very interesting.
Trump, where the moderator can mute his microphone, actually, where they are muting your microphone when it isn't your turn to talk.
Yes. That format,
get really frustrated in that format.
That format is going to be very interesting, especially because Trump feeds so much off the crowd.
And what happens when Biden gets frustrated? He says things like "shut up, man," and people are
right.
Like, you know, yeah, Trump can yap, and then Biden says one old man thing when he gets frustrated and annoyed with you, and it still lives on.
Corn pop. Yeah, so I'm actually very much looking forward to these debates. That style is going to be really interesting to watch.
It is. Yeah,
it might be the Trump killer. It might be the thing.
I don't see any plus side for him. I see potential.
He's doing it.
I see a potential for something bad happening to Biden, but I see all upside for Biden. Like I really
agree for the most part. I'm actually surprised.
Give him a B12 shot like they did before the State of the Union.
Yeah.
Well, because Biden's fine if you stick to the fucking points and ask him a direct question, right? And wins Trump not good. What I just said. Like Trump can't stick to the point, and yeah, exactly. And if he starts saying and this guy, you know, he's 10% for the big guy, child molester, and blah blah blah, it's like that doesn't work. Like it works for your rallies, you know, and it doesn't work for your rallies in New Jersey.
It definitely doesn't. And you think about like the the CNN town hall that he had, where there were clearly a number of MAGA supporters in the crowd. He's not going to have any of that kind of support here.
And always remember, it's like 15% if they're lucky.
Right.
A small group ruin it for everybody there.
I can see him falling flat without the audience to carry
I do
him.
too. Yeah.
So that'll be interesting to watch.
And not only that, I mean, this is the guy that keeps calling him Obama, and
right.
I mean, when that happens in that environment, I don't think that's going to go well.
Yeah,
and Biden's going to stutter, and Biden's going to
Sure.
say the wrong year or something like that, but it's all going to be excusable. And I think at the end of the day, you're going to leave with whatever your incoming bias was. But I feel like at the end of the day, if you look at it objectively, you'll be like, okay, one of these guys, neither of them are fit to be president. I can't even.
I mean, it is a tightrope without a net, though. So that's going to be the fun part to watch. So.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on.
The podcast. President Biden asserted executive privilege over the audio of his interview over classified documents with Special Counsel Hur, as House Republicans consider holding Attorney General Garland in contempt for refusing to release the audio. We talked about a little of this on our secret show. I think that's a bad take. I think that it's important for the public to hear those things. We've already heard it reported on, so it'd be one thing if we didn't know about it. But if we know about it and you're withholding information, I think that's bad.
Well, I mean, so they already have released the transcripts, so we know what was said in the exchanges.
They just want to capture the dead air.
I mean, the idea is, they want to release clips from it, which would show dead air or would show him being confused, not being able to remember somebody's name or a date.
I mean, I try not to upload the podcast with a bunch of dead air, but it fucking happens.
Sure. It happens. Yeah. It happens. So I can kind of see where you're coming from as far as it not being a very good look, especially considering the immunity stuff that we're dealing with on the Trump side.
But in counter to my argument, it's not like the reporting hasn't been done and we haven't heard what was said there. Right. Exploiting the dead air, is that really context that makes a difference? I don't know.
No, it's a stunt, I think, for sure.
I expect there to be a lot of dead air. I expect, Joe Biden talking to a guy on a recording for the recording to be used for the purposes of filling out a report, not being disseminated to the public.
Well, I mean, we've seen
that in the hands of your opponents is not going to be exploited. I think that's definitely perfect for that. So yeah,
we've seen audio and video of Trump in similar sorts of situations that was released, and you see him struggling, and you see him. So it's not like it's
taking 45 minutes to a 3-minute video.
Right. All right. The CDC reported 107.5 thousand fatal drug overdoses in the U.S. last year.
Is that good?
It's marking a 3% drop from 2022 and the first decline since the pandemic.
Just because of the
Narcan?
Yeah.
It's interesting because it seems like a lot of the fentanyl
15% drop in Oregon, more than 50%.
You can see that it's almost come as like a wave from the East Coast to the West. So the biggest drops were like in Indiana, Nebraska, Kansas, and Maine. They dropped over 15%. Alaska, Oregon, and Washington increased over 27%. So it feels like that fentanyl wave is resting on the West Coast.
Well, that's a bad argument because Narcan was available in Oregon.
Right. And there was a lot done to try and create harm prevention.
Decriminalization also was there, so you can say that, and they didn't create the harm reduction side of it.
They were supposed to. That recently. We talked about it. Yeah. So I guess overall a good sign. However, it feels like China keeps pumping that fentanyl into the U.S. I still see people on the streets clearly, on something, whether it's fentanyl or Trank or whatever the hell it is. So it's still out there. 107,000 people is so many people. Like, that's crazy to think that many people died in a year just based on drug overdoses.
Right. Like when we hit 100K with COVID, it was a New York Times headline, right? And we're like, hey, it's good news. It's only 107.5 this year.
Yeah.
And if you think about it, it was like 3,000 people, 4,000 people's lives were saved. That's the difference. Right. Which is,
it's not nothing, but it's
not nothing. But as a percentage of that, that's
essentially a drop in the bucket. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, hopefully the trend line continues in that direction. That would be the ideal. But
this is an interesting story. Slovakian Prime Minister, is it Fico? It's like a CZ sound. Fico. Fico, almost like a T in there as well.
Right.
FICO, not FICO.
Not FICO.
Slovakian Prime Minister Fico is in stable, as of this morning, stable but very serious condition after an assassination attempt. Officials described the shooting as politically motivated and said the suspect acted alone. So here's a little bit of background on this guy. He is a populist. He's represented views that were very pro-Russian, and then he's backed off of them as that became less popular. Although much of the reasons why those views became less popular, specifically in Slovakia, is because they have an arms industry, and their arms industry really wanted to make money selling arms to Ukraine.
Right.
So not necessarily like his views aren't working within the population. So it's not quite like Poland, although Poland's an interesting mix too. But just in relation to their relation to Russia. This man has been the prime minister before,
Multiple times,
in terms with gaps in between, but going back to like 2006 or the 2000s. And he has kind of always been an edgelord, I would say, right?
Well, but he's shifted somewhat. He was more left at one point, and now
he only shifted recently.
Right.
So when you've heard him described as shifted, the reason they say he's shifted is because he's softened on the Ukraine position only in the way I described, which was so that they can sell more munitions and arms to Ukraine.
But he does seem generally to be pro-Putin.
Yes. He is an example of, hey, it doesn't cost that much to invest in candidates in other countries to be successful if you want to run a foreign influence campaign. Marjorie.
And he's also been a fan of Viktor Orban in Hungary.
Oh, he wants them to have a so one of the things in Hungary is they control the media. Viktor Orban got rid of the privatized media.
Yep.
Now you might be able to point it on paper and say these are privatized companies. They are controlled by the state, and they basically they are state media.
It's state media. Yes.
It's the way you get around that without it looking bad on paper, which, you know, in a history book is going to say what I just said the first time. Stop fucking adding me when I say that shit wrong. So this guy, Pizzo, he had accusations of, I think, did he kill a reporter didn't a reporter die like reporting on him on corruption charges with him, and then the corruption charges also got, I could be wrong about the reporter dying.
I don't know that story, maybe.
Jamie looked that shit up. This part is true. The charges against him got dropped when he had a favorable prosecutor.
Oh, interesting. Interesting.
You know, just not a liberal by the classical liberal definition, the, you know, freedoms that we appreciate. Not a good guy. Does not deserve to be shot. Also, my money's on this being FSB agents that shot him to try to make it look like it was Ukrainians, because this is going to rile up his base in Slovakia.
Interesting. So the man who shot him was a 71-year-old man. He shot him 5 times at close range.
Yeah, I hit him in the gut and the hand.
Yeah, his security seemed
5 times close range. What is he, Harry? What is he, Harry from Dumb and Dumber? Harry, you're alive. A horrible shot.
His security seemed unprepared for the task of securing.
Yeah, that video did not look good.
Did not look good, no. But yeah, so his motivations seem to be political, and they are saying at the moment that he did act alone. It wasn't, you know, any sort of.
So it wouldn't have been an expensive investment for a foreign country to motivate him to act.
I mean, if it were the FSB, I'm sure he could have been bought pretty cheap. Sure.
I'm just saying, like,
just saying.
I guess this will be the time where we go lone gunman. Got it. Moving on.
Yeah. So, but I guess he's stable at this point. So they think he's probably going to pull through. But just, I mean, Slovakia is a part of Europe, right? I mean, like, it's not like.
So if this proves to be FSB, is that what you're saying?
No, I'm just saying that we've had a prime minister shot an assassination attempt in a European.
You're saying these aren't some stupid Georgians like acting.
No, I'm saying this headline should be more shocking than everybody seems to be making it out to be.
Well, he survived. The guy's not a sympathetic character.
Sure.
And it's a complex story to
tell. I get that, but it's still, this is a This is the head of a
I
European
agree with
country.
you. I agree with you.
You know what I mean? Like that's not that's
Yeah,
not
but then
nothing.
also it's like it's Slovakia, not Slovenia. Like who knows where it's
Yeah.
about anymore? You know.
Sure.
What is happening?
Dog's going crazy.
God, they don't
All
like
right.
me being neutral on Slavs. Suffering.
The U.S. finished building a temporary floating pier off the Gazan coast to facilitate humanitarian aid.
That's what they're calling.
So, yeah. So they started this 2 months ago. We talked about it on the show. The problem that all these aid organizations are saying now is, look, this is great. It's not ideal. We can do a lot better over land than through water. But
She's going through Rafa Gate.
the problem is that once the stuff gets here, there's no fuel for us to distribute it. There's
What's
a
that
huge
mean? Once it's
there's a
on the pier, they don't have a way of bringing it on shore.
yes.
Or once it's on shore, they don't
Once
have
it's on the shore, they don't have a way to distribute it. They can't put it on a truck and take it anywhere because
Well,
there's
tell
no
them to
fuel.
walk to the fucking beach.
So they've built a
What
storage.
else do you have to do? Like everything's been blown up. They don't have to go to work. Like just go get food.
They've built a storage facility on the beach. They've been very clear that like U.S. personnel won't be on the Gazan side, so they're not supposed to be in harm's way.
And that's so that Americans don't die and get us drawn in an escalator.
Right. So the UN's supposed to be coordinating, distributing this aid and other NGOs, but as I said, the fuel, the fuel thing is a huge problem. It took them 2 months to build this fucking thing. So the way it's working is
So like I get that seems both quick and very slowly to me.
it seems slow to me. So the way it works is they take the shipments from Cyprus. They were inspected there, and to make sure there's not like weapons and shit in there. Then they bring it to this barge, and they offload it, and then they use smaller boats to take it from the barge to the pier, and then the pier to the fucking warehouse. It's a whole thing.
It feels like there's at least one extra step there, right?
It seems too much. And even these aid organizations are like, look, if you just let us get aid through, like Egypt through the gate or whatever, it'd be way easier. This is fine, but we could do it, it'd be way more efficient.
Like millions of dollars.
Yeah. But I guess it's something. It's something.
Do somethingism strikes again. Why don't we drop some more boxes? Haven't we killed like 21 of them already? Just dropping shit.
Yeah. I don't know I don't know the number, but yeah, a few have died.
21. Yeah.
I'll take it.
You'll take it. You believe my number.
I believe you. Yes,
Okay.
I believe in it.
Sounded very callous of you. Russian President Putin met with President Xi while on a state visit to China in a show of unity between the nations amid tensions with the West.
So they've already come out and said that they have the the no limit no limit records.
Ain't no limits to this
relationship. They've backed off a little bit on that terminology, but they are still.
Yeah, but they like reinstated it, right? Or that was a goal.
Sort of. Yeah, they didn't exactly use that verbiage, but essentially.
That's erosion.
Yeah, but they said still, we support each other, and we're besties, all good.
That doesn't sound good. Now, this is his first state visit since getting reelected, which doesn't really matter because he was already president, but it does send a message that you're the first person I go once I've been reappointed. I say non-sarcastically. They also gave Russia promises that they're not going to invade Manchuria, Upper Manchuria or whatever, right? Like, didn't they say like am I saying the right region? There's a part of Russia that like China very much wants back. And they're like, hey, no limits, tanks and shit, all the late 90s.
I think that was the land that was given away in the Peking Treaty.
Oh, I was talking about no limits for the record label.
I understand.
Oh, okay.
I'm talking about the land.
Yeah. I don't know. Peking duck, sure. They're getting, have they got, you understood that they got those assurances like, hey, we're not going to invade your land.
Yeah.
Weird thing to say to an ally, right? Like, just to be sure you're not going to do to us what we're doing to Ukraine, right? Like,
right. It's funny. So that area is that book I read, The Tiger, that I really liked.
The Tiger or the Three Dangerous?
No, The Tiger.
Okay.
That it takes place in that area.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah. In fact, the author of that book surmises that had that treaty not been signed and that area not been handed over to Russia, that those tigers would be extinct based on the Chinese market.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Interesting
stuff. Yeah. All right. President Zelensky postponed all upcoming foreign trips as Russia advances in Ukraine's Kharkiv region. Meanwhile,
cancel Christmas.
Meanwhile, Secretary of State Blinken said the U.S. will send Ukraine another $2 billion in military financing. We just had a good conversation with Cody about some of that stuff. Go check that out over at Foxhole. And I don't really have a lot more to say about that.
Yeah, not much more to say. Did you see Blinken when he was in Kyiv playing "Keep on Rocking in the Free World" to
Yes.
a 50-year-old Neil Young song? So, two thoughts.
did.
One, just the gall of going over there being like, "We're gonna help. I'm here to help." By the way,
Play my guitar.
I'm gonna go play a guitar in Kyiv at a nightclub while
Right.
guys are dying hundreds of miles out east, right? Like, just not a good look. I promised you two things, and I got this one from a listener. Also, tucks his shirt into his jeans.
Oh no,
Yeah,
that's a bad look.
That's almost a worse look, right?
Yeah, and he's supposed to be trying to be cool, man. It's like, I can play the guitar.
Abe Lincoln. Yeah. Youth group pastor. It gives
Right.
youth group pastor vibes.
Trump tucking his polos.
He looks like a Caleb, right? He looks like
Yeah,
a guy
he
named
definitely
Caleb
does.
when
He
that.
does.
So
Trump
many
tucking his
Calebs.
polos in always bothered me too. When
Trump tucks in his polos. Yeah.
when he's golfing, it's like, dude, look at that stomach. Come
I
on.
know. Does it make the stomach look worse or better?
It's worse.
Worse. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
I wouldn't know
that shit.
I'm so fit. I'll never forget when I moved out here, Brido was like, "You're going to be such a cool fat guy," because I kept sending him pictures of me eating barbecue. And he's so right. Oh my God. I'm like, I tried on my suit for my wedding and I was like, oh, I could be stuck in my gut for, a couple of hours. It's fine.
That's
I
funny.
didn't notice it. Like, it
Right.
all snuck
Sneaks up on you.
Yeah. And then
Those
for
Tennessee,
no reason, my back hurts. And you're like, oh, it's right. Because my muscles all deteriorated and turned to fat.
Those Nashville chicken sandwiches are starting to accumulate.
Yep, and ribs and grits. I had grits. I got a breakfast burrito today, and they happened to have grits, so I was like, "Give me some of them cheese grits too."
Oh hell yeah,
breakfast burrito and cheese grits. I mean, they don't not go together, but you don't think of it,
You can hardly get good grits out here.
No, yeah,
it doesn't. That's not a thing.
That's
I got
right.
it once, but it was
Natasha
rare.
makes good grits, actually.
Really?
Yeah,
It's a special skill.
Yeah,
I have a special set of skills.
Yes, Natasha has a very particular set of skills. I'll only tell you about maybe a third of them. Well, do you want to go on?
Yes, you're up.
I swear, Europe. The Biden administration informed Congress that it is advancing $1 billion arms package for Israel days after pausing. Now, this is important. A separate package of 3,500 bombs over concern of use in densely populated areas. So here's the breakdown on that. They're like, hey, if we give you these specific bombs, or the 2,000-pound and 500-pound bombs, initially, that's actually worth splitting hairs on. Initially, the U.S. was like, yeah, we have this aid package. Part of it includes this. We don't want you to have these bombs because we see what you're about to go do in Rafah, and we don't want to send the message that we just gave you the bombs that you're now destroying city blocks with. Mm-hmm. And then the updated message only mentioned the 2,000-pound bomb. So, like, if you keep it to 500, but neither here nor there necessarily on that, because the context of this is there was a $1 billion arms package for Israel was announced and confirmed. That is separate from the 2,000-pound bombs that have been paused.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't make anything look good. If anything, the attempted message that they did successfully get out into the media is, we don't like what they're about to do in Rafah, and we stop them from having this type of bomb that's going to do this. I don't. It seems to be jury's out on whether that's going to land with the people that consume the news. I don't really put much into that because I think Israel's going to do just fine killing a bunch of people there
with or without. Yeah,
with things we already gave them,
right?
And the other stuff. So it's like, yeah, they'll just use incendiary bombs instead of.
I find it interesting that when the initial pause was announced,
I was thinking
a lot of the reaction in the media was like, "Oh, this is Biden, finally saying, I'm going to put my foot down. Right. I've had enough."
That's what I was saying. They got a success with that,
right? And now that this has happened, I don't see the media talking about it at all.
Like, talking about the 2,000-pound bomb or the
about the $1 billion.
Nobody's
package.
Mentioning the billion, right? Yeah. It's sort of like puts them back on their heels, and then it takes a lot of momentum to get them outraged again, right?
Right.
Yeah.
In related news,
they're professionals at finessing that, right? The politicians.
In related news, the State Department report to Congress said that Israeli assurances about adhering to the terms of U.S. weapons agreements are credible and reliable, but also said it is reasonable to assess that Israel has violated international law using U.S. sent arms.
What the fuck does that mean?
So essentially, the report, which is by Blinken or Blinken's office.
Well, they said Israel has promised that they'll adhere to this, but
Right.
it's reasonable to assess
based on what we know that's happened,
that they're lying.
Well, that at least likely that there were
That
violations.
they're lying.
That they're lying, and that there were violations.
Saying in the future they'll tell the truth.
Something like that. Yes. I mean, it's just. Yeah, do we send them stuff and they promise not to do bad things with it? Sure. And then, but of course, it's not possible that they haven't at least done a few bad things with the stuff we sent them, essentially, is what the report says, which is both sidesism at its worst, I guess.
I don't think it is. I think it's actually pretty specifically saying, here's our assessment. Right. Like we're saying, I don't think you should believe them, but I don't want to put that down on paper.
But we kind of did.
They're our greatest ally in the region.
Indeed, in the Middle East.
Do you feel like MAGA Republicans look at Joe Biden? No, sorry, non-MAGA Republicans, and I didn't mean to say Biden. Let me try this again. Okay. Do you think that like traditional conservatives look at Donald Trump as the way the U.S. looks at Israel in the Middle East? Like you do everything wrong, but you're the only one in the region that I can like say that does politics the way we like. So we're your ally until you're gone and you change your ways, right?
It's an interesting analogy. I could see it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I could see it.
I felt like I wasn't gonna be able to land that. So okay.
Speaking of landing things, you
want to Oh no. The Justice Department said Boeing violated a 2021 settlement shielding the firm from a criminal prosecution over 2 deadly 737 MAX crashes in 2018 and 2019. They say 2018 and 2019, but they were like real close to the line between 2018 and 2019. Those stories were real close to each other.
Real close, yes. Yeah, so essentially...
What does that mean? They violated the settlement?
Yeah.
They promised not to, not secure their doors anymore, or what?
They promised
they said they were going to train their pilots, right?
Yeah, and they were going to have certain fraud prevention measures in place.
Fraud protection.
And that's not the case.
Wait, what do you mean? Hold on. What do you mean? This isn't like stock buybacks. This is frauds.
Frauds. Yeah. So now the Justice Department has to decide whether to file charges. There was a $2.5 billion settlement that was reached in 2021. To avoid prosecution on a single charge of fraud. Misleading federal regulators who approved the plane. Boeing blamed the deception on 2 relatively low-level employees and paid the fine and said, we're not going to do that anymore. But the processes that were supposed to be put in place to prevent that from happening again apparently were not followed. And so now they're saying you broke that agreement, and now the Justice Department has...
this. That is unbelievable. Wow.
They have to decide whether or not to charge them with it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Isn't that something?
How about that?
Yeah.
Isn't that something? Huh. Yeah.
Well, you know what? I bet the one thing they are doing, though, is properly training their pilots on their new software.
And they're clearly not using old shitty parts to repair their planes. They wouldn't do that.
Yeah, they've learned that. And they don't have a hitman killing all their whistleblowers. 10 more whistleblowers came out. They're like, oh my God, we have only so many windows.
There's only
it's like, God. All right. Your turn. No, my turn.
Yes. No, it was my turn. President Biden raised tariffs on a range of Chinese imports, citing unfair Chinese trade practices, including steel, computer chips, solar cells, and a 102% tariff on electric vehicles.
Why 2%?
So what they did is it was a factor of what the old tariff was. So it was 5x, and it came to 102. And so most of these tariffs have been raised between 2
Why was it at 20.5? Okay, never mind.
Yeah. So the electric vehicles one is the big one. And Biden saying that it's essentially making it difficult for American electric car manufacturers to compete with the way that China's flooding the market. And so that's why he's saying these tariffs are necessary. So maybe Elon got on the phone and said, hey, man, my Tesla's not doing so well. Who knows?
That's what's happening. That's not what happened.
No,
it is the first thing you said. It's protectionism. It's everything that was wrong with Trump trying to do this too. Mm-hmm. This is, I mean, like the effects of this, if this works out, Sure, I understand the incentive. We want to protect American jobs. We want to, we want more Americans to be able to have jobs in these sectors. We want these vehicles to be made in America. We don't want to keep importing them from, especially of all places, a place like China. That said, like, I don't know if you think that's how that's going to work out. Sounds a lot like people are going to get taxed.
Yeah, it's the consumer that has to pay for it. Although China is struggling right now because their domestic consumer demand is falling through.
They were expecting to create a economy where their own domestic side was buying these products, and they're going back to now. Well, so they were, all of these products were made with the intention of selling many of them domestically. That's not happening, so they're flooding the markets. But prior to that, all China ever does is flood foreign markets.
Right.
So it's like
decades.
Their original plan plus the oops, we can't sell all of these plan is causing effects on global markets.
Another complaint
I can be persuaded to understand a value in tariffs in that way, in that specific environment. Do I think that the Biden administration is that like dialed in? I don't. I know. No.
Another complaint that was brought up in this was the China stealing IP.
IP freely.
From American manufacturers and just using that R&D investment from the American side without paying for it. So that's also been a problem.
Well, maybe you don't build a factory in another country and give them all the blueprints and tell them not to steal it. Like I also will piss everyone off when I say things like I don't really believe in IP. I think you need to make a superior product and make the product. And then when you create something and that idea is out in the world, you like by natural definition that exists. You don't own that. You don't get to own things like that. It's fun to, and you get to ensure that you profit, but that's just not how that works. Turns out you have to be both creative and really good at making people want to buy what you make to be profitable in that way. And that's hard to do. And we live in an economy based off of IP. And I would also argue that a lot of the augmentations we see in our markets have to do with the fact that we protect drug companies and insurance companies. Not insurance companies, not a good example, but drug companies for all of their R&D, so they're incentivized to keep making that. I get all that. I'm just saying, you don't get to conserve knowledge that's been discovered. It's only a matter of time. And if you artificially slow down that matter of time and that dissemination of that knowledge, one, I think that's bad for humanity. Two, you augment the natural state of how that disseminates. And that might be uncomfortable at times, but like you just have to be good at selling what you created.
Yeah, I mean, so there are. I mean, you brought up the drug industry, the pharmaceutical industry. Certainly, I mean, we incentivize those companies to invest massive amounts of money in R&D to come up with these new medicines because they can then make a profit on them. Now, the way it works in the U.S. is they're only allowed to hold that exclusive patent for so many number of years, and then it goes to the ability to be made generically.
Maybe you keep it that way, but you just don't go make it in China and get mad at China for stealing the blueprint. Like,
yeah. I mean, when Apple opens a factory in China to make,
and you don't have to make a law for that. You just have to accept the fact that you built a factory in China. You don't get to tell them not to make that. Like
well, and when they build a factory to make earbuds or AirPods in China, and then suddenly, China floods Amazon with 800 different versions of the same thing that they make for $30.
That's what should happen, is what I'm saying.
That happens.
And you should be unhappy with their low quality because they don't know what they're making. They're mimicking something, and you should go buy it from Apple, and they should be making that in Texas somewhere or Mexico,
Yeah. All right. So we have some econ headlines.
And it costs twice as much. Fine. Like, okay, I'm done.
Well, and also, if you are a successful company, you build a brand that people are loyal to.
That's what I'm talking about. Yeah.
And they'll buy
That's the other half of it. You don't get to just be like the government. So then what comes from that? The government protects you in that way, and it de-incentivizes you from continuing to be good at the things you make.
Innovate.
You just have to keep investing and innovating because whatever the new thing you make, and all that does is churn consumerism and create more waste.
Sure. But I mean, so a company like Apple can create an AirPods they can sell for $200 or however much they cost, and people will buy them because they trust Apple to have a good product and they've used them successfully before. And so they're not going to buy the $30 knockoff on Amazon because they trust.
Or they
Apple.
look into how China was able to make a $30 version and maybe theirs costs $120 in a year.
Sure. There's that too. There's that too. All right. So we have some econ headlines. I don't know that we need to go into each. I can probably just hit all of these real quick.
I gotcha.
CPI rose 3.4% in April, in line with expectations, still ahead of the Fed's 2% target rate. The PPI
that's not good.
PPI rose
all positively.
Actually, so the markets are taking this pretty well, as I'll get to. PPI rose 0.5% in April on a monthly basis, above estimates of 0.3. Wholesale inflation index is up 2.2. S&P 500, NASDAQ, and Dow all closed at record highs after favorable inflation data. So the markets are taking this as better news.
How is 3.4% on top of 3.4% last year on top of 9% the year before good news?
I agree with you. As a consumer, that doesn't seem like good news.
Oh, it sounds like I made less money now.
Did you
or my money is more worthless now.
Did you listen to The Economist? I think it was yesterday, talking about inflation and how
it was so bad.
It was infuriating.
It was too much to clip. He was like, it's really good news, and actually the wealthy suffer more because they lose more money. It's like that, but money means nothing to them. Is that like? Can you say
pretty much? Yeah, no, they were like, it's weird because economists think that, inflation, this is a good thing, but people just feel like they have less spending power and, their money doesn't go as far as like, well, yeah.
I wonder why they think that.
That's so weird. Yeah, but their whole point is like, well, actually, that debt that
you start with actually and say you're an economist, it's like I'm on board with Pol Pot. Like I get
no,
I get it now. These intellectuals. Was it Pol Pot? Yeah,
it was. Yeah, all these fucking nerds with glasses.
Yeah.
No. So they're like, well, you have your debt, and so now your debt, the actual cost of your debt goes down because it's worth less because the dollar's worth less. And so
who has debt? The insanely wealthy. What are you fucking talking about? We have debt. We have credit card debt. We got medical debt. We got student loan debt. I don't have I took out a giant loan to finance my lifestyle debt.
and took it out based on
that is so rude.
The billions of dollars of stocks I have in my back pocket that I don't have to pay taxes on.
All he did was invert the argument for why Trump's debt doesn't matter, right? Yes. He took that and said, but that's true. The first part's true, not your bullshit about how turns out the loan you have. Hey man, I know you owe in the bank like $8,000, but it's really worth less now. So if you can just get $8,000. I don't even know how to say it. You get $6,000 now. That's at $8,000 worth. Then I don't even know. I don't even know because it's not a realistic moment. You know what is real? The amount of dollars that I use now to pay off my mortgage are worth less, but my mortgage number is the same. So I think that's the way debt fucking works.
You know what? On that note, I think we can move on.
Box wine.
There you go. Go for it. In other news, so we have a couple of headlines here. You added this one. This is a Substack. You said the headline surprised you, which was interesting. And I couldn't read all of it because it's a Substack and I'm not a subscriber.
Yeah, I think it's the headline. I don't expect it to be. If you can substantiate the headline, I'm all earballs.
George Washington warned against a passionate attachment to Israel. So essentially,
I don't know when was George Washington alive?
Yeah, Israel didn't exist.
There was a whole skit from The West Wing about this where he wanted to get a map from 1708 and post it in the hall. People were like, it doesn't have Israel on it. And it's like,
he's like, because Israel didn't exist.
Yeah.
They're like, no, people would be offended by that. And he's like, well, why? I remember that. Yeah. Yeah. Leo McGarry was like, no, you can't put that.
And that lady.
No, you cannot do that, Donald.
No, you can't. Wait, I got a clip from when you can't say things.
Oh, no, you can't say that.
I want to play John Prine. It's just me.
Yeah, no, I'm here for it. Okay, so essentially the argument is that Washington's foreign policy was like, look, we can't get too tied up in foreign policy and miss what might be best for domestic policies. So to get too caught up in another country's affairs means that we may act in ways that are not in our best interest, essentially is the
sound. Yeah. So it was a good point.
It was a good point.
Oh, okay. Well,
it was a shocking headline. I did not expect that.
Good job. Got me.
All right. So this
BuzzFeed.
We got one more. This is from the New York Times. I put this in here. at Justice Alito's house a Stop the Steal symbol on display.
What?
So yeah, this was dropped today. I haven't seen much.
Somebody put it there?
No, I haven't seen much about it in the press yet, but I'm sure it's going to blow up. So there are pictures of Samuel
Justice
Alito's,
Alito, that's the Supreme Court judge, right?
yes, Supreme Court judge,
I
his
just-
house.
We were talking about that.
He had the U.S. flag displayed upside down, which
Come
was
on, this is real?
this is real. Which was this is the New
Wait,
York
wait.
Times.
This man has been deemed to be one of the 12 people that gets to decide morality for the country.
Yeah.
And his judgment is like impeccable. And he was
In
like,
theory.
you know what? Time to make a statement. This is regarding Trump's trial, right?
So this happened back in January
Oh.
2022. So
Oh, come
after-
on. Get out of here with all
after
the New
Jan
York
6th.
Times. You
after Jan 6th.
Okay.
So there are pictures and neighbors who come forward to talk about it.
Did
and
they
that-
wait to move or what?
No. And so apparently, I wasn't aware of this, but apparently at that time, a lot of MAGA supporters who believed the election was stolen, that was a way for them to demonstrate their belief in that, to turn
Yeah.
their flag upside down.
Yes.
Now, Alito's statement is that his wife did it, and that
she's been hanging out with Jeannie or Jenny
Jenny his-
Thomas.
Yeah.
Jenny.
His wife was involved in some sort of verbal altercation with a neighbor who had an anti-Trump sign in their yard, which apparently contained some sort of foul language. And so there had been this.
So in
altercation.
response, she turned the American flag upside down. There's no like, oops, one thing led to another.
No, that's the story. That's the story. That's the whole fucking story. Yeah, and this man sits
This
on
is
the
like
Supreme
when
Court.
people cheat and they're like, I just got 2 steps to why it was okay, and we'll fill in the rest on the fly. And it's like, no. What?
Yeah. Unclear how long it remained like that, but neighbors say many days, and there are photos of it.
I was in
and-
an argument with my neighbor, and they said something bad about Donald Trump. Next thing you knew, my flag was upside down.
Yes, that's the story. And the neighbors don't want to.
You had to stop the steal yard sign.
No, they didn't have a stop the steal yard sign. They just had
The flag upside down is the stop the
the
steal
is the symbol. Yeah.
Catchy headline. There's some New York Times shenanigans there, but
I think
It's
we
good
should
enough.
we should
Yeah.
expect more from our Supreme Court justices.
yeah, I
Absolutely.
mean that's where I started with, right? Like
Yeah.
you're supposed to be, the pinnacle of judgment.
right.
It's
supposed
in
to
the
be-
name.
Right. You're supposed to be ethical. You're supposed to be in the middle center. I mean, that's the whole point.
I mean,
of
you
the
got
Supreme
how are you supposed to be a Supreme Court justice when you can't control your uppity wife? You know, you gotta have stronger hand. You know?
Court. Where's
He's
your
got no
pimp hand?
hand. He's got
Where's
no
your pimp
hand.
hand, Alito? Come on, man.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
What was in Seinfeld where he said, "I have no hand"? He didn't mean pimp hand, did he?
No. You know, I'm not sure.
George Costanza was talking about his pimp hand. That's kind of fun to think about. George Costanza with a fur coat.
Did
Talking
he
about
wear a
his
fur
body-
coat at one point? Yeah.
No, that's
Oh, Kramer.
that's Kramer. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's Ed. Plus, yeah. He's just talking about his bottom bitch. Like,
You know, I could see Costanza doing that.
kind of could too. That guy got way too much trim. Like,
He
just
did.
short, bald guy in New York in the '90s. lived
Cleaned
with
up,
his
man.
parents.
Cleaned
Yeah,
up.
dude. He tucked his shirt into his pants. Oh, everybody on that show did.
True.
Except Kramer. Cram Dog was fine. And
Mhm.
then he ended up saying racial slurs. Probably don't need to. Remember that one episode where he stomped on a Puerto Rican flag and then you can't find it on Netflix anymore?
I do remember that. Yes. 90s sitcoms.
All right.
All right, should move into media diet.
Yeah. What have you been watching?
All right, so I didn't watch anything new, I don't think. In fact, I think I may have already spoken about this movie on the
It's
show.
specifically not new in the name.
Yeah, it's Old Henry. I watched a couple old movies with my dad up there when I was there last week. We really enjoyed watching this one, and we also watched that new the Indian one with the assassin thing.
Monkey Man?
Monkey Man, watch that too. But Old Henry, I know I've already seen it. I don't know if I talked about it on the show before. It's essentially a Western.
When did it come out?
2021, I think.
Oh, okay. Oh, wait, is this
Uh,
with Christian Bale? Christian Bale?
It's not Christian Bale. I don't remember.
Matt Damon. I'll look up the cast. You talk.
Okay, all right. It's a Western with Old Henry.
Sorry.
It has a fun twist towards at the end that you kind of don't expect. But it's essentially, you know, it's a gritty
Oh,
old
Trace
Western.
Atkins is in it.
Yeah, Trace Atkins is in it.
Oh, I watch that.
Surprising. Yeah, actually, my sister-in-law.
Stephen Dorff.
Yeah,
It's a great cast.
it's a really good movie. I highly
Like
recommend
Nelson is made to be in old westerns. He's got
Yeah.
a face with like just says like you better not have out of your teeth. Like
Yeah, if you like that old Western style of movie, you'll enjoy this. This is a lot of fun, kind of gunslinger type stuff.
Farmer takes in an injured man with a satchel of cash. When a
Mm-hmm.
posse comes for the money, he must decide who to trust.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, that's a good situation. I don't think I've seen this.
It's fun. It's a good movie.
Okay,
I recommend it. Yeah, check it out.
great.
How about you?
And you watched it with Dad?
I did.
That's
And
awesome.
everybody liked it.
Dude, maybe it's just the age we are, but watching westerns with Dad.
Hell yeah. It's different, man. It's different.
Like when the remake of True Grit came out, when I left the theater, I remember being like, it feels like I just watched like an old Western with my dad. Like
Yeah.
it just, yeah.
Yeah.
I watched a couple of things this week. We had a very busy weekend. Even on Monday, Natasha's like, I'm having a lot of fun, but I miss just like going home and watching TV with you. Like we haven't watched just a TV show or a movie in a while. We tried to watch a movie Saturday night, and she made me stop at 2 extra bars that had bands every time. And I was like, all right, fine. I guess we're not watching a movie. I'm complaining about not watching a movie on a Saturday night.
That means you're old.
So we started a series on Netflix that is very good. It's called Bodkin.
Okay.
Do you ever listen to true crime?
Yeah.
So imagine if you're listening to a true crime podcast series where there's 10 episodes or something like Serial,
Yeah.
right?
Like Payne Lindsay's stuff.
Okay. But you're instead of listening to each episode of the movie, and they don't implicitly say this, but you start to realize what you're watching is not like a mockumentary where they're with a film crew watching them, but if you could just like be with them and watch it happen, what it is like for the podcaster and the reporter
Oh, I see.
to
Okay.
go to a place where a crime happened and find the new
Try to
mystery
figure
that
out.
unfolds and
Right.
get wrapped up in everything, right? Instead of listening to an episode where they say, and then we talked to this person, we got this, and then layering the audio in. Now I say that, and it has to do with the opening scene. So not spoiling anything. The opening scene of the first episode, one of the main characters, the reporter, she is being told that she has to move. She has to go settle down. She needs to go off to like the country somewhere. I think they might be in Ireland. That she has to go to. She has to leave London, and because I won't spoil it. I almost spoiled it. She had a source on an article that she had released,
Okay.
and something happened to that source. So they're like, look, just lay low while the news dies down and go look into this interesting story they have over there. We're going to partner you up with this podcaster from America who has a huge following with true crime. You can kind of do this puff piece with him. Maybe it'll be a big deal. We'll see. And it turns out to be a very interesting story they find there, but then that gets interfered with by the realities of that initial case that she was running from and the realities of what she was running from. It's really good. It's called Bodkin. It's on Netflix, and you already pay for Netflix. So watch that and then watch the Pop-Tart movie.
Okay, I will check it out.
We're almost done with Friends. It is so bad. I think that's what I say every time I talk about it. Like the last 2 seasons, you're just like, you're trying to get to 10. Like, what are you doing? Like everybody was just making money. They were all getting $1 million in episodes, one of the first shows to do that. So they were like, we got to keep this going. And of course, like by the time they got around to like How I Met Your Mother and all the other shows where I started paying people that kind of money, they were like, no, we'll get you syndication and we'll see how long this fucking lasts.
Right.
Years of this bullshit. Yeah. Because the last 2 seasons are just so bad.
I don't think I watched them.
Rachel's dating a guy that she works with that took her job while she was off on maternity leave. And then it turns out they like each other, and that gets Ross upset. And the whole time you're like, well, the guy's gonna end up saying that he needs you to be happy and be with Ross because he loves you so much. And sure enough,
Oh, good.
and now we got about 1.5 seasons. So that means they're gonna start getting together, and then they'll get a last season for drama, and they'll end it with Ross and Rachel make it. I mean, I don't know. I haven't paid attention. I watched the first.
I punched out way before that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But I remember it being on the cover of like Us Weekly.
Sure. I remember watching the last episode just to.
Okay, don't spoil it. In my head, that's when they get married or something. I don't know. That's it. Friends is bad. I think
Friends is bad. All right, we got a game. Wacky or cackalacky. You got.
Throw your hands up. Take your shirt off. Twist it around your head like a helicopter. Petey Pablo taught us that.
Oh yeah. So we got 3 facts here, ostensibly facts. 2 are true. 1 is not.
I get to find the bullshit.
You get to.
I get to find the cackalacky.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
No, the wacky.
I have to find the wacky.
Not
the Kakalaki are true stories about North Kakalaki.
Yes, yes, yes. All right, so what you got?
Oh, I get to read. I forgot.
Yes.
I'm not used to this. The first major gold discovery in the United States took place in the Umhari Mountains, where Thrash lives, in 1799, in a mini gold rush. Took place during the Depression. Okay, false there. There we go. Problem solved. 1799. So there was a depression of 1799 because it took place during the Depression. That's not 1799.
Well, it could be the first major discovery was 1799, and then later during the Depression at the same place.
Okay. Can I read it again?
Sure.
The first major gold rush discovered in the United States took place in the Umhari Mountains. Don't know if I'm saying that right now that I know Thrash lives there. It's not an M. It's upside down M. It's a W.
Owari. Yeah.
Ooh, Harry.
Sure.
Ooh, Harry.
Ooh, Harry.
In the Harry Mountains.
Hey, now.
Ooh, Harry.
It's
either Ooh, Harry or IP freely, which was just a passing phrase, but we did have a little thing about it, IP there.
We did.
IP. I don't pee freely if you're watching. Not if you're watching, listeners.
We've discussed on the show, yes.
Yes, yeah, exactly. As is famous on Untaken. I've got countless advice.
A shy peer, a noted shy peer.
Noted shy pisser, Dustin.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Can I do it again?
Yes.
The first major gold discovery in the United States took place in the Umhari Mountains in 1799, and a mini gold rush took place during the Depression.
Yes.
Okay. Timeline-wise, that does check out.
Okay.
It seems really specific, but I'm sure they're all going to feel that way. All right. The man who invented the modern shipping container, Malcolm McLean, was from Maxton, North Carolina, and invented them in the 50s. I don't remember where he's from, but I remember learning the story about the person that invented that. I think in the Peter Zion book, I think, because he talks about shipping logistics.
Oh, you know what?
Either that or in the new maps, but I think it was in that because he really gets into shipping logistics.
Yeah, that does sound familiar.
So you got me enough on the fact that I know other surrounding facts to this. Wherever you hid the lie in that one, I'm going to go 2 is true.
Okay.
An outbreak of the Black Plague, African-American plague, sorry. An outbreak of the Black Plague in Elkin, North Carolina in 1878 wiped out almost the entire town of 700 people in a month and a half and resulted in people in surrounding areas accusing the survivors of devil worship. What the fuck? So we got the first one that involves facts about where he lives.
Mm-hmm.
Say the first one's false and it's a different mountains and he changed it to a place where he lives.
Okay. Final answer?
Well, that makes me nervous. Yes.
Okay. All right. The third one is the wacky.
Damn it.
So
Damn
the first 2 are correct.
How do you make something up like that?
It was pretty well done. And I Googled to see, because he didn't really explain like what was wrong about it, but it wasn't about that third.
About the plague and
plague, yeah.
So an outbreak of Black Plague in Elkin, North Carolina did not wipe out an entire town.
So as far as I can tell, it's just the timeline is wrong. And there was nothing. So it happened earlier.
The 1500s. It was right after.
There are some outbreaks.
You know what? Turns out there was quite a bit of a plague in North America shortly after Columbus arrived. Maybe that's what he's talking about.
That's true. And there were no accusations of devil worship, although they always do like to throw that out there.
I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah. Damn it, you got me. You know what? I spent no time on that one. I got real excited.
Yeah. He got you. Thrash got you.
That was a good one. Damn it.
It was. All right, man. That was a great show.
That was a great show. I'll ask you a question and we'll get out of here, I suppose.
Yeah.
Well, this is going to be exactly an hour. That's kind of weird. Let's talk long enough for the outro song. Okay, now it'll be slightly over an hour, and I can live with that.
Okay.
You know how? So you don't really do vintage shopping, but me and Natasha do. Are you into it at all?
I mean, I'll pop into an antique store for funsies, sure.
You at least know like the cyclical nature and like the definition of like past a certain number of years, these things by definition become vintage. So in
Sure.
the 90s, we'd see things in the 70s become vintage, and we were kids.
Right.
We heard our parents talking about how weird it was that things from their childhood were old enough for them
We're
to
old,
be
yeah.
blah, 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 right?
Right.
Which, by the way, that puts us in our 90s phase of our parents' life, which means fuck us. Like they had the best time in world history to be like, you know, at the peak profit creation of their life, right?
Yeah.
Like chances are the next like 15 to 20 years are where we start to like accrue enough capital to like get by into retirement. Like not going to be the same as what our parents had. Just
No, it's not.
like
It's
this
not.
is not the 90s. Like, God damn it. Remember when they were like, hey, look, the pandemic's bad, but last time we had a pandemic, we had a roaring 20s. And
Right.
here we are 4 years later. Like,
There's no roaring 20s. What's
is it
going on?
growling? Like, is it chirruping or whatever those words are? That sound that tigers make.
Chuffing.
Chuffing.
Yes, I think it's chuffing.
Chuffing down just for fun. It's not chuffing.
I'm chuffed. That's a British term, isn't it? I'm chuffed.
I don't know.
I think it
Sure.
is.
Yeah. Chuffed. Hung up and left chuffed. Rode hard and hung up chuffed. Anyways, so we're at the point where 90s is vintage.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
So I see a lot of 90s stuff at vintage stores.
Okay.
And it's kind of cool. It makes me, I mean, even at the time, I was like, okay, I'll try to identify the things that we're saving and hold on to them. I didn't know that, you know, a random NASCAR shirt was going to actually.
Right. It's like the first time I heard 9 Inch Nails on a classic rock station. I was
It
like,
is a lot like that, but there's a monetization to it where you're like, I had all these things, right?
Right.
I have an idea for a 90s vintage store.
Do tell.
Play it again, jorts. Hey, got you with a laugh.
I like it.
All right, man. Drive safe.
Cheers. All right, we got to play the outro.
Oh, shit. I almost stopped everything. All right. Wear your jorts next week. Jinko jorts.
Jinkos.
When a guy's banging you,
Y'all let me in this damn house.
Come in the name of peace.
LMFAO.
So what in the world is this?
Is Kevin McCarthy a moron, and if so, why?
Why would you say something that stupid?
I come without explanations or solutions.
I'm a very sexy lady.
Cat turd.
I will not suffer this harlot. How great! An anti-American Marxist.
Ted Cruz, go fuck yourself.
Read the news.
China is asshole.
God bless the United States.
Now this is
Podcasting.